Hey guys, how's it going? It's OG Scotty B here, and I just got a comment from a guy, Jesus Freak, and yeah, man, sad story about your situation here, but I get so it kind of reminded me of a bit of a story here, so I'm just gonna kind of say how I uh, how I actually got from being homeless, and strung out, and how I got to here. Like I'll tell you sort of in steps about how it happened. But so, anyways, I was going in and out of jail for whatever the longest time. But I was starting to contact my father and grandma and so forth a little more frequently, and coming over into North Van. I'd always come into North Van too. Like I had this kind of fucking stupid elitist fucking attitude, whereas like because I was born and bred here in North Van, that it's it was my turf, and I was entitled to fucking rip off and rape the stores that were here, because that was kind of like one of my main incomes that I can talk about, is for just like my regular money I would usually hit liquor stores, and I'd go and throw a couple bottles in between my jacket and drop a couple in my knapsack and hop on my BMX and just ride away. Sometimes I didn't even care if they saw me. I was so dope sick, I just run out. But anyway, so what happened is I ended up coming into North Van, and we had a shelter from like a BC housing kind of program, and there's a shelter down on Third Street here, and it was called the Lookout Shelter, and basically it's a three-tier type system, and what they have is the first bottom balcony, it's all dorms, right? So there's maybe 50 people down there in dorms, and the second part, like the main floor, that's the basement. The main floor is like double, two people to a room. So then there's females and males in there, and then the top two floors are like a transitional housing, and it's like this 2-year transitional program, and you're supposed to touch in with your TSW, your tenant support worker, which is what they're called, and you touch in with them, and then they'd help you get your shit, like your ID and everything. And this is a harm reduction place, so they gave you rigs, they gave you needles. If you were on the methadone program, which I was at one time there, that you'd have to go downstairs and they would actually administer your methadone, which is kind of fucked because they actually weren't nurses or doctors, and there was a few instances where staff were taking people's drugs and shit, and they didn't get fired because it's like a union, so all they did was claim fucking drug addiction. Boom, they hadn't. So it was kind of fucked up. Like it is like these places too, like a lot of these recovery places, people that are working there is just fucked up as you were, man. And anyways, but this, for the most part, it was a pretty good place, and so I did volunteer work there too, and I went and I worked in the kitchen. But what I did was, so I'm getting out of jail and I'm working there, so I've got a steady place to live. That was like the first, sort of your first priority, is you want to be able to have a place to call your own, sort of, or even if it's a shelter, just have a bed and you got there for a month or two or whatever, right? And so then I started washing dishes, and I went to this restaurant because I used to always wash dishes in prison, right? So I'm a painter too by trade, but I mean I just fucking found the first job, started washing dishes, and what did I was I think I was on the methadone program at that time. Yes, I was. Yes, I was. So I was just washing dishes and I was doing methadone, but I was still using too at the time, right? So that would fuck me up sometimes, and yeah, I would go and. Anyways, I'll tell you the story about how I got to jail, but this is just sort of to help you get back. What you got to do is you got to get like a steady housing, even if it's a shelter, or even if you can, man, if you have a tent or a car or something that you can fucking change clothes, you know what I mean, where you can start a routine in. I recommend, if you have some kind of shelter system, more than your car, but deal with what you got to deal with. But that, to me, helped the most, is having a place to come back to, knowing I had a place where I could put my stuff and just shit and just get sleep. You know what I mean? I was on a methadone program, so I was able, for the most part, to just wake up and get my juice. But there's always the pharmacy's not open at this time or whatever. And as a junkie, I always make excuses. So I was doing lots of dope too. But so that's kind of one of the first things is what you want to do is you want to get like a stable kind of housing thing. And then you want to get a job. And then you don't want to do what I did with the first paycheck is go out, spend it all, blow it all, and then get busted. End up doing another year and having to start over. You don't want to do that. That's not what you want to do. What you want to do is you want to get your job, get your temporary housing place to live, and try to, whatever kind of resources they have in your area, hopefully they have something, but fucking look into that, man, and utilize that shit. If there's like fucking advocates for your welfare system or whatever you got going on, use that shit. And there's no shame. There's no shame in your game, man. Your main priority is to get yourself off the streets and back into society, like for and just even like it sucks working for yourself. If you can blow up on YouTube, fuck, go ahead, man. Try it, whatever. But for the most part, I think like what I did was I got myself a steady job, and I got a boss that, again, I was throwing a bone. The boss that I work for, I still work for him today, and fucking guy is great, man. I actually chose to go off the methadone program for the longest time, and I thought I'd be able to wean myself off heroin myself, because I just have an issue with methadone, just whatever, it's just a personal thing. But honestly, I couldn't have gotten to where I was without that, because when I was trying to just maintain my own heroin maintenance program, I loved it. I love shooting heroin. So, you know what I mean? I would wake up early just so I could get my fix into me, right? So it didn't really work. But like I said, the methadone didn't either. I'm on a good taper med right now, which is working. And whatever, I'll get into that shit in another video sometime. But I'm just kind of trying to explain how to get off the street. And, whatever. The thing too is you got to put the coke down. You got to put the fucking cocaine down and the heavy, that kind of shit. You got to put down the drugs that'll make you not want to go into work. I mean, I was, no word of a lie, I was doing heroin for about 4 years while I was working. I actually got off the methadone program and started doing heroin just because, like I said, I thought I could do it myself, which it was wrong. I couldn't, but yeah. Anyways, try to get yourself, working and steady, and then get a bank account, get your license, just do things in slow steps. Like, don't, I think that's the best advice I could give anyone is take slow, take slow victories, like small victories, you know what I mean? It's baby steps. And it's funny, my wife and I used to say this is baby steps, baby steps, baby steps. And it's true, man. You just fucking, you take your steps as they come, and you roll with it, and you just keep plugging along. Eventually, if you're doing more positive than negative, you stop doing crime. So yeah, you're gonna have to go without, but you figure it out, man. If you're smoking, you figure it out. You start making a budget, kind of. You realize what you can and can not spend your money on, and you just kind of go from there. That's probably the best advice I could give anyone that's about to be homeless. Yeah, start saving your money and keep, whatever kind of, like, dude, even if you have to go around with a bucket and a fucking squeegee and you knock on doors and go wash windows, I did that, man. I did that. And I went around and I cleaned gutters, and I borrowed the neighbor's ladder just so I could go up and clean gutters. And I've done like all kinds of shit like that just to stay legal, right? So, there's all kind of, like, if you're there's all kinds of little I don't know what services or what kind of shit you can do, but there's always something that you can do that somebody else can't, or that somebody else is willing to pay you for. So, think about that. Or, sometimes, doing the shit, just even if you gotta dig a ditch, man, fuck, it's good for you. You're sweating, you're getting good exercise. And, yeah, so that's kind of my best advice for somebody that wants to get off the streets. So, thanks. OG's gotta be out, and, have a good new year. Peace and positivity.